So, how's it been so far being on such a massive tour and being a teenager, like, would be in high school, kind of that whole vibe? How's that?
It's been amazing. It's been like working nonstop, staying up, working like editing videos to like 5 a.m. and then waking up at 8 to go to radio and do like different interviews. But honestly, I have no complaints about anything other than the fact that I miss my family whenever I'm gone from them for a while. And that's mostly because I am like a mama's boy, and I do love my family, my siblings so much.
So where are you out of originally?
New York.
New York.
New York City, yeah.
So what part of New York?
New York City.
New York City.
Yeah.
So I imagine that was pretty interesting growing up, being in such a big city with like the multimedia industry, having music and film and stuff like that. Was that in like a big influence of
For sure. I mean, it's been a huge influence. One in my music because of all the different, cultures and diversity and all that, but also in just meeting so many different people and being able. I think I'm a confident person because of my family, but also because of New York. I think in New York, to make it in New York, you have to be like, in my opinion, you have to be like very like confident and be able to walk down the streets and not be scared of someone, trying to pickpocket you. So I think that's where I get my personality from mostly. But it's definitely played a big part in my music because of the different cultures involved in New York City.
Right. So I imagine that, like you said, like growing up there, you probably learned to deal with a lot of different people, a lot of different cultures. Well, at what point living in New York City did you start to realize that music was something that was bigger than just an interest, bigger than just like what you listened to, but what you wanted to do?
I think around when I was starting high school-ish, I'd always been doing music in school, but I wanted to pursue it more than just, sing in my room or sing in the shower or sing on stage at school. I wanted to try writing more and start performing in the studio. So that's when I started to do it, and that's when, I got the call from a few people in the music industry to maybe go out to LA and fly me out to LA to try it. So that's when I really started. I was about 14 years old then.
So, 14 years old, how were you juggling flying to LA and doing these tryouts and then going back to school and being able to be around your friends and they're like, oh, what were you doing this weekend? I mean, were you just being like, I was in LA trying out, or was it more just kind of...
No, exactly that. It was on the weekends only because I couldn't miss school. And I wasn't like, one of my songs you'll hear tonight is called All In. I wasn't like all in. I was all in terms of I was going for it, but I wasn't all in terms of I hadn't started doing homeschooling yet. But when I used to go on the weekends and then I would come back, and sometimes I would tell only like a couple of my friends because I didn't want it to become like this big deal at school, like, oh, AJ's trying to be, because there are always so many kids in high school that are like, I'm going to put out my mixtape or I'm going to try here, and I just didn't want to be, one of those kids who just did that. So I wanted to keep it more of a secret until it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it started to be hard to keep it a secret.
So what do you think was the defining moment that kind of tipped that off to where it was no longer able to kind of be on the down low?
That's a good question. I think in a writing session probably a couple of years ago, I have such a huge love for writing and songwriting itself. So yes, obviously when I started to perform more and get on stage and meet different fans, that is when it was that moment that I wanted to keep going. But when I kept working in the studio and writing and creating different sounds and just coming up with different ways of saying things, that's when I started to be like, wow, this is something really, really, really special that nothing else in my life has been before.
That kind of tackled my next question. I was going to say, what do you find yourself gravitating towards, more playing live or songwriting, and what? Yeah, I mean,
I love playing live. It's my favorite. It is my other favorite thing in the entire world because I do love the engagement with the fans. Right now, especially on this tour, it's been so special because I released my new single, Tongue, and the fact that I'm seeing people sing back the words that I wrote is so special to me. But I think that connects to my major love in this world is songwriting and
actually making it,
putting emotion to words or words to emotions, if you look at that either way. So I'd say those are my two major loves, and they correlate with each other.
That's really cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people will sit and try and pick one or the other, but I'm glad you can make that correlation because I've noticed, talking with a lot of artists, they definitely just gravitate towards one or the other, and they never, I think, find that connection of how the support of one avenue, like live playing, can totally influence what you're writing.
Like, not only writing for myself, I love writing for other artists as well, and writing for different TV advertisements and movies. I just think it's all, like, there's so much more to music than just pursuing one certain sound. I love country music, and I love dance music, and I love R&B, and I love all these different types of styles of music that maybe don't have to do with each other. This is Hayden over here. Say hi to Hayden.
Guitar player.
Oh, very cool.
Drummer over here.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
But yeah, all these different styles of music, I think, are so special that I don't want to just only do one certain route for myself, and that'd be it.
So, you mentioned that Tongue just came out. How's the reception been so far?
Incredible, so much, and I think it's due to this audience. The Pentatonix audience is insane. They are such music lovers, and that is so special for me to be on a tour like this because they've been so positive about everything. So if I put out a song on some sort of like other tour or just by myself, sometimes, and I've done that in the past, and especially I did it last year with one of my other songs, and the feedback wasn't as great. But I think because they have such an amazing fan base, and that I owe them that.
Right.
And it is the song as well. I have to be honest. Like, I worked so hard on this song, and just making sure that it's really true to me and who I am, and everything I feel about my life. And I think that's why it's doing so well right now.
That's awesome. So, you're on tour with Pentatonix. What's next for AJ?
Good question. Well, I'm hoping to. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm more just using it for audio, but yeah.
Well, we come back to Kansas City. Eat some more food here.
Have you actually gotten to eat some real Kansas City food so far?
I have. Really good. Really
Awesome.
good stuff.
Awesome.
What's next for me? I hope to be on another tour right after. I really love meeting new people across the country and even across the world. I've toured in Europe before too, and that was an amazing experience. I want to go to all these different places and come back to a lot of the places I've been, but I want to meet new people because I love hearing new stories. And even before a lot of my shows, I'll go out into the audience, or I'll go out into the streets and just like say hi to people, because that's why I'm doing this. Yes, like, I love music and I love writing, but at the same time, I want that connection with these people. I want my words to have meaning for these people, so I want them to be able to inspire me as well. So